Welcome back to the Deep Frame podcast. I'm your host. If you're here, you've already seen the sanitized version of the Beijing summit. You've seen the state dinner, the YMCA performance, and the handshake. But today, we are reacting to the footage the mainstream corporate media is trying to bury. We have the raw Air Force One gaggle. We have the security footage from the tarmac in Beijing, and I have the unreleased Pentagon munitions audit that explains exactly why we just saw a global realignment. This isn't just the diplomacy, folks. This is the shadow world coming for your data, your sovereignty, and your retirement. Let's roll the first clip.
engines, 200 planes. Hello, everybody.
How are you, Mr. President? How are you?
So we had a great stay. It was an amazing period of time. President Xi's an incredible guy. Got along, made a lot of great trade deals, including over 200 planes for Boeing with a promise of 750 planes, which will be by far the largest order ever if they do a good job with the 200, which I'm sure they will. And that's General Electric also, the engines. So they're buying General Electric. So it's approximately 450 engines, 200 planes, and a promise of up to 750 if they do a good job. We had an amazing time. It was a very historic. Oh, look who we have. Hello, David. It was a very historic couple of days, I think. Really amazing.
Sir, I know there'll be a lot of questions around the China trip, but just first on Iran, have you rejected the latest proposal from Iran, or where does that stand?
Well,
Okay, before we get into that, okay, stop it right there. Look at this. This is the most honest moment of the entire trip. While Trump and Xi were talking about strategic stability in the gardens, the security posture on the way out tells you the truth. This wasn't improvised. This was a pre-planned counterintelligence sweep. The US delegation arrived with the CEOs of Nvidia, Apple, and Tesla. But they left with nothing Chinese on the plane. Not a pin, not a badge, not a phone. Why? Because the malware and trackers embedded in those gifts are part of the CCP's digital siege. We are in a state of high intensity electronic warfare, and this bin is the graveyard of the recouping lie. Now, let's get back into it.
looked at it, and if I don't like the first sentence, I just throw it away.
What was the first sentence?
An unacceptable sentence. Because they're fully agreed, no nuclear, and if they have any nuclear of any form, I don't read the rest of
So
it.
20 years is not enough for you. It's got to be a
No,
permanent.
20 years is enough, but the level of guarantee from them is not enough. In other words, it's got to be a real 20 years, not a big one.
Means you got to get all the fuel out and no more
We
production.
have to get everything, but we're not even talking about, I call it the nuclear dust. Came up with a term which seems to have caught on.
I'm talking about because they would not remove the.
And they said that they can't remove it because they don't have the technology to remove it.
Well, you
They
could
don't have
remove
the
it
type of tractors. They say the only one, they told me directly, they said the only one that can remove it is China or the U.S. We're the only ones with the equipment. They said you were right, it is a complete obliteration. With that being said, I want to get it. And they agreed to it, but then they took it back, but they'll agree to it eventually.
Can I ask you about Taiwan? What did President Xi say to you about Taiwan? And what did President Xi say to you about Taiwan? And are you still going to approve the arms sale?
So President Xi and I talked a lot about Taiwan. He thinks they cannot have anything to do with what they're doing. I mean, he's against very much what they're doing. We talked about Taiwan. We talked about Iran a lot, and I think we have a very good understanding with both. On Taiwan, he does not want to see a fight for independence because that would be a very strong confrontation. And I heard him out.
Are you going to
I
change
didn't,
your wording?
no, I didn't make a comment on it. I heard him out. I have a lot of respect for him. On Iran, it's very interesting. He feels strongly they can't have a nuclear weapon. He said that very strongly. They cannot have a nuclear weapon, and he wants them to open up the strait. But as he said, they closed it, and then you closed them with a smile. And it's true. We control the strait. And they've done no business, literally they've done no business in the last 2.5 weeks, which is approximately $500 million a day. So we have, we're doing very well on all fronts.
But sir, just before we leave.
All right, so we're gonna stop it right there. So I can give y'all my perspective based on the research that I've conducted. Favors and return. That's the line Trump is telling you he knows the cost of Chinese help in Iran is Taiwan. Here is the mind-blowing info the public hasn't seen yet. The Board of Trade, they just established. It's not about soybeans. Leaked intelligence from the final session indicates that in exchange for China pressuring Tehran to stop the seabed sabotage of undersea cables, the US has privately agreed to waiver on the next major arms sale to Taipei. They are treating Taiwan as a fungible chip to protect the digital jugular of the global AI economy. These cables in the Strait of Hormuz carry $10 trillion in daily transactions. The IRQC is already floating a plan to charge transit fees to Google and Amazon. If we don't pay, they cut the lines. We are being held hostage at the bottom of the ocean, and Taiwan is the ransom. Now, let's get back into it.
Taiwan, Mr. President. President Xi said that there was a risk of conflict with the US over Taiwan. What's your response to that?
I don't think there's a conflict, other than we don't need their strait. We don't need the Hormuz
On
Strait.
Taiwan, Mr. President Xi said there was a risk of conflict with the US over Taiwan.
No, I don't think so. I think we'll be fine. He doesn't want to see a war. And you have two things. You have the Iranian situation, and that I think we agree almost entirely, other than he's a buyer and we're not. We don't need it. And on Taiwan, he doesn't want to see a movement for independence. He says, look, we've had it for thousands of years, and then at a certain period of time it left, and we were going to get it back. They had the Korean War. A lot of things happened, and all this. But on Taiwan, he feels very strongly. I made no commitment either way. We'll see what happens.
What about the arms sales to Taiwan?
I'll make a determination over the next fairly short period.
You're not necessarily going to go ahead. It was your proposal.
I'll make a determination. I'm going to see. I have to speak to the person that right now is, you know who he is, that's running Taiwan.
Mr. President, did President Xi make any firm commitment to put pressure on the Iranians to reopen the Strait of Hormuz?
I'm not asking for any favors, because when you ask for favors, you have to do favors in return. We don't need favors. We've wiped out their armed forces, essentially. We may have to do a little cleanup work because we had a little month-long ceasefire, I guess you'd call it, but we have a blockade that's so effective. That's why we did the ceasefire. We really did the ceasefire at the request of other nations. I wouldn't have really been in favor of it, but we did it as a favor to Pakistan, who are terrific people, the Field Marshal and the Prime Minister. But no, I mean, President Xi and I agree on many things, and we agree very much on trade. We're going to be doing a lot of trading. Our farmers are going to be taking in. I mean, our farmers are going to be very happy with the deal we made.
Is your instinct that he will put pressure, that he will try and get them to do more?
Ask him to put pressure because I don't need favors. I think he will. I think automatically he'd like to see it opened up. He gets about 40% of his energy or his oil from that, from the strait. We get none. We don't need it.
Mr. President, on Truth Social, you said that President Xi had made a reference to the decline of the U.S. We didn't hear him say that. Maybe it was something he said in private to you. So what was it, first of all, that he said that prompted you to do this?
He made a statement. It might not have been from him. It was somebody, but they talked about the decline. But he said today, and he said it very publicly, he said the U.S. was declining for the last 4 years. And he said what President Trump has done in the last 15, 16 months has been virtually a miracle. He said we have the hottest country anywhere in the world.
Exactly. That's exactly what I've been talking about on this platform for a while now. As you guys know, is that exactly that. It's supporting everything he does, supporting this guy's amazing, bro. Like if it wouldn't have been for him, we would be in total chaos. We'll be losing our freedoms left and right. And this man right here, man, let's hear him out.
But he said that it was a declining country under Joe Biden. He said we had a seriously declining country, which we did with people.
Yeah, when he was letting in all the people in and everything that was just going on, it was just reckless. Like when I was looking at the news, you'll see like all these people, whether it be from Africa, Mexico, China, and all these other countries, they were just flooding in through the border, and the gates were just open. People were just flooding in. So that us as Americans were like, man, what the hell's going on? Like it doesn't matter. And it has nothing to do with that, but and a bunch of other factors that we've talked about on this channel as well, which is socialism, the spread of socialism, communism in the United States, making us as Americans unhappy with our system, with the way things are, though this system is not perfect, but is way better than all the systems around the world. So that's what we talk about on this channel. Now let's listen.
Pouring in from all over the world, from prisons and everything else. He said what President Trump has done has been a virtual miracle. It's the hottest country anywhere in the world, and it is, yeah.
On a different subject, on Cuba, there's reporting that Raul Castro could be indicted by the DOJ, I believe. What does that mean?
Well, I don't want to comment on that. I'll let DOJ comment on it. But they need help, as you know. And you talk about a declining country. They are really a nation or a country in decline. So we're going to see.
And one thing to take note of is that they already been in decline since years before any of this. So you can't put the blame on Trump. You can't put the blame on anybody. Like this has been an ongoing thing for years where they just been declining. So regardless of the blockade or the oil blockade or any of this stuff, they already were in decline anyways.
We have a lot to talk about on Cuba, but not maybe for today.
Tariffs, Mr. President. Did you agree with President Xi to extend that year-long truce on tariffs?
We didn't discuss tariffs. I mean, they're paying tariffs. They're paying substantial tariffs, but we didn't discuss. Before I came along, it was the opposite. We didn't discuss tariffs.
How come?
It wasn't brought up.
Mr. President, you said in January to us that you were going to bring up the expansion of their nuclear program. Obviously, they've got 600 weapons now, by the Pentagon's estimate, going to 1,500. Did that come up? Did you succeed in getting them into any form of arms control, or remember we discussed New
You're
START?
talking about China.
China.
We brought it up. The denuclearization. I talk about it all the time with Russia and with China. And it did come up. We did discuss it.
And what did you conclude?
I don't know. I got a very positive response since the beginning. You know, we're going to be together 4 times potentially this year. We have the G20, which he wants to come to, which I'd like him to come to. It's going to be in Miami.
And I'd like to say shout out to the Union Herald for me using your video for this
It's going to be a
and this commentary.
Doral, and it's going to be, I think, very good. Much more important if he's there. And so you have the G20. We have one that he has, as you know, in November,
Right.
in China. He's asked me to be there. I'm going to try and be there. And then we have another one on September, I guess, 26th or 24th, where he's coming into the White House.
So I'm trying to understand what it is he committed to, if he committed anything.
Well, I don't want to say anybody committed, but we have a very good understanding.
So are you
You know,
going to
the
move it?
concept of denuclearization.
Denuclearization, or just an extension
Well, no,
of
a
the START?
denuclearization.
In other words, building down.
And you bring Russia into it also. But the concept of that is something would be very good.
Sir, can I ask you-
about the political prisoners in China? Did you bring up with President Xi any of the political prisoners in China? Are
Yeah.
they going to be released? Any progress?
I think he's giving very serious consideration to the pastor. The pastor is, said he's giving very serious consideration to that.
What about Jimmy
I discussed it.
What about Jimmy Lives?
It's a tougher one. I did bring it up. It's a tougher one. For him, it's a tougher one.
What did he say about
I
it?
understand. It's, for him, it's a very... He told me, I don't want to mislead anybody. He said Jimmy Lai is a tough one for him to do. You know, they went through a lot. And right or wrong, they went through a lot. So he told me that would be a tough one. He said he's going to strongly consider the pastor.
Sir, can I ask you 2 on technology? First, computer chips, advanced computer chips like the H200s that Jensen has. Did that come up at all with you?
It didn't come up, but as you know, Jensen was there. He's an amazing guy, NVIDIA. And he would be inclined. You know, they have much higher level than the H200. But the H200 is good. China needs it. And so, yeah, it came up.
They haven't bought it
We
so
haven't
far.
much, no, because they chose not to. They want to try and develop their own. But it did come up, and I think something could happen on that.
All right, so let's stop it right there. Now, why are we dealing from a position of such desperation? I've got the unreleased Pentagon audit right here. Operation Epic Fury didn't just decimate Iran. It decimated us in 39 days. We burned through half our national stockpile of Patriot and THAAD interceptors. We fired 1,000 Tomahawks. It takes us 10 years to build that many. We are in a munitions red zone. Secretary Hegseth admitted in a closed hearing that we are essentially out of bullets for a sustained fight. That is why you're seeing the rebranding to Operation Sledgehammer. It's a legal trick to reset the war powers clock without having to go back to a divided Congress and admit our magazines are empty. And while our magazines are empty, Iran's tunnels are full. Remember when they told you the B-2 strikes in 2025 obliterated the nuclear program? Leaked intel just hit my desk. The strikes only set them back by 24 months. The IAEA is panicking because 440 kilograms of 60% enriched uranium is missing. We have the satellite data. 18 blue encounter containers entered the Isfahan tunnels on June 9, 2025. Our bunker busters hit the doors, but the cargo is too deep. Technical math. They are weeks away from 90% weapons grade. That's enough for 10 warheads. The Pentagon is currently green lighting tier 1 ground raids because they know the glow isn't a metaphor anymore. Now, let's get back into it.
And then on artificial intelligence,
Have quite a bit higher level, but the H-200 it's a great ship.
and then on artificial intelligence, what is it that you want to get done? Did you bring up
We did. We talked. We're leading by a lot, but they're second, and they're very strong. And we talked about possibly working together for guardrails.
And what
And
kind
he's
of guardrails?
he's very
What kind of guardrails?
the
do you
standard
want?
guardrails that we talk about all the time. AI is fantastic. So many things can happen in terms of health and medicine and operations, everything. Military, and so many things can happen, but it's also got some drawbacks.
I was just talking about that recently with a friend of mine. About like creating a drone and stuff, and I've seen they've created like different drone versions in Africa and different countries where the drones, they lift up the medicines and deliver them to certain areas that are too far for tribes or people who live in that village to be able to get to a hospital, right? So that drone basically just drops it off for them. It makes it easier for them. So I was thinking about an idea related to that, and yeah, I was just having a conversation with a friend of mine, and we basically talked about it. So yeah, now that he mentioned that,
And we're talking about, we probably will. We're going to work together. We had a very good conversation about a lot of stuff.
So biological, nuclear,
Could be,
cyber.
yeah.
Did you specifically discuss those risks?
We discussed, I would say, almost everything you could discuss except for the reduction of tariffs.
On Iran, Mr. President, just to be
For a reduction of tariffs.
on Iran, Mr. President, just to be clear. I mean, what's next? Is the threat of the bombing starting again? How realistic is
I don't
that?
want to say that. I mean, I'd like to tell you. I'd like to say on a certain hour, a certain day, the bombing is going to start. I don't want to say that. I can only say that Iran, I can say this with very, very strong conviction, Iran will never have a nuclear weapon. Not going to happen.
President, what would the use
They
be?
have no chance.
What would the use be of repeating the bombing? You did it for 38 days.
Well, no, we did.
And you did not get the political changes in Iran.
No, I had a total military victory. But the fake news, guys like you write incorrectly. You're a fake guy. And guys like you write about it incorrectly. We had a total military victory. We knocked out their entire Navy. We knocked out their entire...
and you see how diplomatic he just told them in a diplomatic way, like, you're a fake guy. And you could tell the guy looks like he's, brainwashed. That's all it is. He's not a bad person or anything. He's just a brainwashed individual.
Air Force. We knocked out all of their anti-aircraft weaponry. We knocked out all of their radar. We knocked out all of their leaders, number one, and then we knocked out all of their leaders in the 2nd Division, and we knocked out numerous of their leaders in the 3rd Division, and they're very confused. We've had a total victory, except by people like you that don't write the truth, you know?
Don't play with the American eagle. Don't play with the American eagle, baby. Don't play with the Americans, baby. Because we ain't gonna play fair. I'm telling you that. He just told them right now.
You should write. I actually think it's sort of treasonous what you write, but you in the New York Times and CNN, I would.
Yeah, these people, they'll just create these narratives, these disgusting narratives, like the Epstein file thing and all that. Like they're just trying to throw so much dirt on Trump, and they do that to anybody that goes against their system. They've done it to me. They've done it to. They're just like that. They like to blackmail people. They like to play dirty. They like to set up traps and play these little tricks to try to get you in trouble and bring up these allegations and all that. That's why the Diddy thing is going on and all these, like, don't think that That's because there's certain people involved in what's going on, and it's all related in one way or another. But yeah, let's get back into it.
Say are the worst.
So on another war.
You should know better. You're a professor. You know better. Your editors tell you what to write, and you write, and you should be ashamed of yourself.
Ashamed, and they should be held accountable for spreading misinformation and propaganda. There should be a law put in place or a policy that says that you can, because yeah, you're bringing, that's basically the same propaganda that these enemy oppositional countries create. They say that we're their imperialists, that they try to put us down in so many ways, and these type of peoples are the ones that support that type of shit. And they're brainwashed. We let these people come from these other ideologies, bringing them into our colleges, our universities, our institutions, and brainwashing our people into believing that all these lies, so it's disgusting.
Another war. Is there any?
I actually think it's treason. When you write like they're doing well militarily and they have no Navy, no Air Force, no anti-anything. By the way, we knocked out 85% of their manufacturing for missiles. We knocked out everything. We haven't knocked out other than one bridge, and we did because they misbehaved. We have bridges we could knock out. We could knock out their bridges.
Like, yo, daddy, the U.S. is the father. Like, all you are my sons. Nah, it's not like that. But I'm saying, like, for the opposition, it's like that. It's like they're our son and we're the father. Trump is the father. He's teaching them the lesson. Like, don't play, man. But he's diplomatic. I like the way he does things, and things are falling into place. I like the route that this country is going in. Let's get back into it.
And their electrical capacity, within 2 days, we can knock out the whole thing. And then I read the New York Times, and they act like they're doing well. And everybody knows it. That's why your subscribers are way down. The Times subscribers are way down because it's fake news. Way down.
Even that, because there's people like myself that are spreading the truth, and a lot of people are noticing. I know that these videos, even though they don't get a lot of views and all that, the message spreads, and then one person hears it, the next person hears it, and it all spreads, and it's the truth. We got to start spreading truth in our country. If not, it's like in the Biden era, we're about to lose our country from so much misinformation. In the videos, like, I remember watching YouTube videos, and I would be listening to like some leftist, democratic nonsense. And I'll be like into it, kind of believing it, and then I'll like, my mind goes to like, wait, this is false, this is fake. Like, so throughout time, I started doing more research. I started speaking with some people who are really involved in the political spectrum, and I came to the conclusion that yes, these people are spreading false misinformation and propaganda. Back in high school, I remember they had me in the summer camp or summer school, and they had us doing all types of different things, like calling out in the communities, helping people out. And then all of a sudden we ended up in this office scenario where we were reaching out to people to vote or to come to the protest. It was against Trump, actually. At that time, it was a Democratic Party. I didn't know nothing about this. I wasn't really into politics,
Good
right?
afternoon, folks. It is now
And
10:30. The
so
library will be
from
closing
there,
in 30 minutes.
what
at 3
happened
o'clock.
was that
As a reminder, the public computers will shut down by 2:45.
sorry guys.
And no new library cards will be issued after
okay.
that time. Please browse
Let me
accordingly,
wait for-
and thank you for visiting the library.
Thank you. So, all right, back to it. I even forgot what I was talking about. This is insane. So yeah, they were grooming me into becoming a Democrat, or like they even had me at a protest and all that. We were like waving little signs that were saying, I think it was like an immigrant movement or something against Trump, because he was talking around, it was around like 2016, 2015, around there. I was young. But through the years, I researched and I looked into it, and I was like, oh shit, they were grooming me into being a Democrat. So they've been grooming my whole generation, the Gen Z, into becoming, into thinking a certain way, you know, and it's all this leftist ideology, this leftist nonsense that has been spreading. And I remember back in high school reading a book of Stalin. Like they had all these communist books and stuff, and I've spoken to certain people. I told them, hey, I don't like the thought of having those type of books in our country. They're like, oh, well, you know, people have to read about it and learn about it. But for me, in my mind, the way I think is like that once you take in that information, you might be confused and you might not know what's true or false. You might not know how to tell the truth, you know, like fiction from nonfiction. You won't be able to tell if it's real or not. And you can actually start believing these thoughts. That's why I feel like this information should not even be in our libraries or schools. None of that. We don't need it. Like, because it goes against what we believe and what we stand for in this country. But let's get back into it.
Discuss Ukraine at all with President Xi, and is there any movement on that?
I did. We discussed, well, it's one that we'd like to see settled. Until last night, it was looking good, but they took a big hit last night.
Yeah.
So it's going to happen, but it's a shame. 25,000 people died last month. Yeah.
Admiral Cooper of CENTCOM was asked yesterday about the strike on the girls' school on the first day of the war.
Oh, it's under investigation. You're talking about the original.
Yeah, it was the only case of investigation at the moment into civilian
No, I
casualties.
think we have a couple of things under investigation, but that is under investigation.
Are you able to confirm yet that it was a US missile?
Who you with?
BBC for the radio.
Fake BBC. You mean the ones that put AI in my mouth? The ones that gave me, that had me saying a statement that they now admit was not true? That the ones that put terrible words in my mouth and then had to admit that
That's crazy.
it was fake? The ones that are being sued now for
Exactly. I was just going to say that. I'm like, well, they're going to get sued. Well, there you go.
$5 billion and don't know what to do. You're with BBC? They're another fake outfit. Yeah.
About the deals in China?
And another thing, it's sad that these news outlets can be just spreading false information like that. And I'm glad that this president is holding them accountable for spreading false information to the general public. Because look how many, and I mean, we're our own enemy because we've let our own, I don't even know how to put it into words. It's like we let our own people lie to our own, like, I don't know. So we basically are lying to our own selves, you know, and accepting it. So we gotta start, you know, but yeah, I don't know. I feel like you still do need the fake news because that way we can comment and give commentary and give our own perspective on it. So, you know, it's kind of, that's the good part about it. But just spreading false information, I don't think it's just right. You know, you're lying to the people and that's not right. So let's get back into it.
The deal on soybeans, you know, the farmers.
Yeah, the farmers are going to be very happy. They're going to be buying billions of dollars of soybeans. Yeah.
Well, we were talking about Britain, but Keir Starmer, the Prime Minister there, is in a lot of trouble. I know you were asked about this.
Well, he's in trouble for two reasons: energy and immigration. He's very bad on energy. He should open up the North Sea. He's got a coal mine, and he should open up oil in the North Sea, and he doesn't. They have a tremendous value.
They're missing out, man.
You know, they buy their oil, a lot of it, from Norway. Norway gets it from the North Sea.
Look at that.
Not as good an area as Scotland and the UK has. So they're paying Norway a fortune for oil that they take out of the North Sea.
Do you think Starmer's going to survive as Prime Minister?
It's a tough thing, unless he can straighten out immigration where he's weak. And if he doesn't start drilling and stop with the windmills all over the place.
And Portugal, too, as well, there's like a crisis. I just saw a video recently, a few days ago. I think it's like flooding I don't know, but we'll talk about that on another video.
Are causing havoc. They're causing havoc. Most expensive form of energy. They kill the birds. They're unsightly. They're ruining the landscape. If he doesn't stop with the windmills, he's got to do energy. He's got to open up the North Sea. You know, he's got one of the greatest oil finds anywhere in the world, and he's not using it. And I tell him that. He's not using it.
Should he quit?
The oil companies call me every day. Please, we want to go to the North Sea. He doesn't allow it to happen.
Should he quit?
I don't say that. I think he's a nice man, actually.
I like that. He's a gentleman. That's what I call a real brother right there. He doesn't put another person down. You know, like he's a real one. Right there.
But, I mean, I didn't like when he said, we're going to send ships as soon as you're finished with the war, as soon as you...
That's fair. See, but he didn't put that other gentleman down. That's why I like Trump. I like his mindset, the way he is. He's an honest person. He'll tell you how it is. If he knows you're wrong for something, he'll still, you know, but and if he bashes you, I feel like he has a reason to.
Well, we're sort of finished militarily, pretty much.
I don't know, but just based on the research that I conduct and what I see, yeah.
But David, we finished probably 70-75%. We didn't finish every one of the things. We'll go back and finish them off. And by the way, and more than that.
You saw the reporting
But
on the...
damn, nah. Yo, those are my words. I be saying that like a lot. Cause that's my mindset. When I mention a topic or anything that I'm talking about, I talk about that, and then at the end I always put, oh, and much more than that. You gotta add that much more than that. Like that's, now you're thinking on a whole nother level. You're actually elevating, you know? You're opening up the possibilities to new ideas and new thoughts, as we all know. But let's get back into it.
Missile capability, missile launchers that have remained. Does that seem accurate to you?
No, it's New York Times fake news. The missile launches are probably 80% gone. The New York Times said it's like we were hitting them like pinatas. The missile launches are largely gone. The manufacturing of missiles is about 80%, 80 to 85% gone. And we know where the rest of it. So if we go in, we'll take that out very early.
The intelligence reports seem to indicate, though,
there are no intelligence reports. They weren't intelligence reports. They were New York Times fake news.
Sir, would you consider lifting the sanctions on Chinese oil companies that buy Iranian oil?
Well, we talked about that, and I'm going to make a decision over the next few days. We did talk about that.
Do you think Xi feels...
We're going to cut it right here because we have the satellite data. 18 blue containers entered the Isafan funnels on June 9th, 2025. Our bunker busters hit the doors, but the cargo is too deep. Technical math. They are weeks away from 90% weapons grade. That's enough for 10 warheads, like I said before, right? But finally, the money. If you have a 401k, you better be listening, right? The $3 trillion private credit market is reaching its breaking point on June 30th, 2026, right? That is the mark to market deadline for years. These funds have used bad PIK, papering over losses with more debt. But the gates are closing. Blackstone and BlackRock are already locking your money in. Federal Reserve officials are privately using the term psychological contagion. If this market freezes, the capital that runs our mid-market businesses evaporates. You are looking at a stagflationary shock that will hit exactly when the munitions crisis and the nuclear breakout reach their peak, I think, in July, right? That's crazy. Now, they want you focus on the Boeing orders. They want you focus on the YMCA dance. Don't fall for it. The real signal is in the airport trash bin. The real signal is in the Isafan containers. The real signal is the June 30th clock ticking in the shadow banks. We are entering the sledgehammer phase of 2026. You need to be sovereign. You need to be prepared, and you need to stay tuned to the Deep Frame. I'm your host. This is the Deep Frame. And thank you all for tuning in, right? So I think on this channel specifically, this is my first stream that I do on Twitch. I think right now we're live on Twitch and we're live on YouTube. And I was trying to put Kick and Twitch together, but I guess that doesn't work. So maybe on another episode, I'll probably upload to Twitch, and I'll probably add the links all to the channel, etc. But yeah, this is just me testing out different websites to see what's the best option that I can use. I've been looking at different content creators. They've been really recommending Restream. That's the one I'm currently using. I was just using Opus Clips, which you all probably know about. What's this other one? Riverside. I just had a subscription with them. That's why my videos look way better. I got to get better at editing. I got to get me a little crew and stuff. But yeah, but we'll be back when the first line of the Strait of Hormuz is cut. Stay free and peace.
Felt stronger in his dealings with you than he did the last time that you
great
went to
relationship
China.
last time until COVID came along. You know, I blame them for that. I said it was Wuhan, and I was right. And you know, look, that was a strain on everybody, COVID, and so it affected our relationship at the time. But we always had a great relationship before that and after that, and now it's as strong as ever. I mean, I went over to where he lives, which is something that rarely happens. Were you there? I don't know.
Yeah, it was beautiful.
It was amazing. I mean, people have never seen it before. It's amazing, actually. We had lunch. We have a great understanding.
You don't think he feels
it's a very positive thing to have these two nations getting along.
I'm gonna leave it at that.